Hello and welcome to Life in the Mind, a neurodivergent podcast by neurodivergent people. I'm Murray Spear.
And I'm Joy Amy Wigman.
And today is Life in the Mind of Kat Faulkner. Hello, Kat.
Hello. Hiya. Thank you for having me.
It's nice to have you. You're brightening up our studio.
Yeah.
Beautiful rainbow hair and sparkly trousers. I'm very jealous.
Yeah, just saying it's my dopamine dressing.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you walked in, we were just like, oh, look at all the things.
Yeah, sparkly shoes too.
Sparkly shoes.
Got rainbow fingernails that all have eyes on.
I'm so jealous.
I've
been doing Macbeth, so like my hair has to remain one colour and I can't paint my nails because I know I'll forget to take off the rainbow colours.
Yeah. Especially if you paint them like red.
Yeah.
It's really hard to get it
Macbeth,
out
like,
if you're doing Macbeth. You have to really scrub and scrub to get that off.
I've got a neon yellow that just doesn't come out. Out damn spot of neon yellow.
Of neon yellow. I'd love to watch that version.
Like a 70s shoulder pads. Everything's just neon.
Yeah,
Macbeth.
fluorescent 80s Macbeth. Like, why is that not happening?
Oh, man.
That's now going to be a thing.
Take note, Paul, redirect for the next time.
So, Catherine, right?
Yes.
As we were talking about just before, some people know you as Cat and some people know you as Cat. And I'm an oldie person. So I know you as Catherine and Cat. And
Yeah.
I'm
We know
originally
each
gonna
other
say-
from drama back in the day.
We did.
But yeah, I grew up in Cheltenham. As Catherine, moved to London, changed to Cat for the fast pace of life. And now, go by Cat.
What is your relationship to neurodivergence? I don't want to ask that like as a £1 million question.
I would like £1 million. I am diagnosed as dyslexic. I got that diagnosis at university, and I am I am self-diagnosed / impostering /
No impostering here. That's what we call it.
ADHD or a version of that neurodivergence. I got just before the pandemic, went through the NHS to get a diagnosis, which I got as far as a screening. That took me about 2 years to get screening, which then got lost. And then I had to chase that for a long time. And then since moving back to Cheltenham, I have rechased it. And then I got an email. I got a text message saying, please fill out this attached form to put you forward again for diagnosis. But the form, of course, wasn't attached to a text messages because forms can't be attached to text message. So I phoned them back and I said, this has happened. And then they said, we'll get one of our specialists to call you up and help you through the form. And it's been a couple of months. So because I came on the podcast, I rang them up again this morning. And then they said they're going to get them to phone me back. And if I haven't heard back from Easter, then I'll do it. But also, I mean, it's the spelling of the word dyslexia, and then it's also like the system to get diagnosed for ADHD. It's just
beautiful irony.
It's just so.
They send you a 14-page form to concentrate on. Like,
it's deliciously cruel. It's just the admin of it and the chasing it up that I have no skills at. But
It's nice. It's nice to hear that coming on the podcast helped.
This has prompted it. Yeah, 100%.
Nice.
I'm reinvigorated to get a diagnosis and get the help for it because it definitely affects my day-to-day life.
How old were you when you first kind of suspected?
Discovered,
discovered within oneself. I was like, there are signs here of being slightly different.
There's a couple of things. So I definitely, like, in primary school, got taken out of classes to go read in the library, and then I also got like tested for hearing several times because I wasn't like listening to the teacher properly because I was being distracted, but they thought there was that. I got, I think, some version of a dyslexia test in year 5 or 6, and they didn't come back as dyslexia, and they were like, oh, it's just you. And I think that like knocked my confidence in like chasing that. So then I didn't pursue it again until university. And when I did, it was quite a scary thing to do because I couldn't face having that experience again. But then in like, I loved English and reading, but my grades were always so bad because my spelling and grammar and punctuation and like was just so off the wall that I would never do well in it, but nobody put the pieces together that that's what was happening. And I think, I mean, I was the kid that walked around the playground picking up bits of gravel. Like, I definitely wasn't, like, normal. And, like, throughout my life, I think my mum's, like, my emotional regulation and dysregulation has definitely been, it's had its highs and lows. So I think, realising as an adult that's all part of a thing. It's been quite nice. But there's definitely been signs along the way. And when I did go through the diagnosis at uni, like there was stuff on the test where they were like, you're not this high on dyslexia at this, but then you're so below average of what you should be at this and so above average of what you should be at this, that like you are a version of. And I'm kind of intrigued to do more ADHD screening tests, because it might be that actually, I mean, I know in women sometimes this dyslexia thing can be a misdiagnosis of an ADHD thing. Like, I don't really have massive troubles reading apart from concentration. And my spelling is kind of my brain gallivanting further ahead than my hand can write. But I am awful at spelling, and I've made a business out of being awful at spelling because I have a pun-based company. So it's worked for the best. Like, but I have sent out like 40,000 cards into like high street retailers that all say "recycle me" on the back instead of "recycle me." Like, I will. It's definitely like the signs are there. But and
there's a really high comorbidity between ADHD and dyslexia. I think it's like even 50%
it's pretty
or
high,
something.
it's pretty high.
Where co-occurrence of both diagnoses at the same time, which is always an interesting, especially with that thing you were saying about females, they're getting missed more readily or misdiagnosed one into the other.
Anxiety. I remember reading an article that was about adult women getting diagnosed, and it was saying that like it's often anxiety and dyslexia will be the things that they get misdiagnosed with through like, and I was like, oh, those are the things that I sort of thought that were my things, but actually like I don't know if they are, and this thing feels much more like what's going on for me. But it's quite interesting, in the last year or so, my sister, who's quite a polar opposite character to me, like we're quite yin and yang in a lot of ways, has also realised that she's probably got her own version of ADHD, but she just masks it in a completely different way. Like, the two of us have had to become like two jigsaw pieces of the way we handle stuff, because we've run a business together for 8 years and because we've like grown up as each other's support systems. Like, it's just quite interesting that like, I think some like, as much as I've been like, I hadn't realised, but it was kind of even more obvious than it was for her. And like, there's stuff that because she's now beginning to realise it, like the stuff I've been doing for years of like doodling when I'm listening to somebody talking, she's begun to do, and then be like, oh, now I can
it's so much easier
in the room. And I'm like, that's why that's what, you know, like, exactly. So it's led to a lot of people to have imposter syndrome, the extreme number of us that are all turning around now and being like, oh, me too. But also like, of course, like, it's only been the past however many years that adults have been being diagnosed with it. Like, of course
also
we are.
we found, we talked on previous episode about how so there's comorbidity, so there are things that hide stuff, but also the pandemic. People spent more time in their own company than they'd ever spent in their lives, and are suddenly noticing, oh, hey.
And they were suddenly without their routine and their normalities.
Maybe. So people are actually like having the time to discover things about themselves.
Yes, it is. And also, like, with more and more people being out there and talking about things and being like, oh, actually, this is the nuance of hour to me. You're going to get more people going, oh right, that sounds like me.
But we're also kind of drawn to each other.
Yes.
So then you're like, we can't all have it. Like everybody in my friend group, and then you're like, okay,
it's
like
just,
that's
we've
why
come
we
together.
like moths.
My tribe.
Yeah.
Recognizing like to like.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
think in the same way as
we
I
can
do.
all talk aggressively at each other for a long period of time. Like I have the most incredible, supportive little WhatsApp group of like there's 4 artists. Like 4 of us artist friends, and the voice notes that we send each other are so long and so winding, but we all just like listen to the podcasts of each other's lives, and it just feels so healing to socialize with people who operate on the same, and also like our disorganizations match up so much, so us organizing to meet each other is like we all have to remind each other 100 times that it's happening, and like, you know, I share pictures of like the way we sort stuff out in our homes where everything's labelled so it's got a place, because that's the thing that makes our brains happy, if it has a place for the thing to go. Like, and there's so many things we like. I think the fact that we're all talking about it more has made, I think my sister's like, it's just like, I'm glad that I don't feel so weird like anymore. And like I think like I'm sad that she's had that so much, because I think I've just really, really launched into my weirdness the whole time. But like, I think it's quite, I don't know, I'm glad it's talked about more, but I'm like, it's really good, all this stuff. And I'm like, I'm still massively an imposter about it. And I still have that little girl from year 5 or 6 that like is scared that I'm going to be told that I'm normal and wrong.
We always refer to it like on the podcast as when you discovered your neurodivergence.
Yeah.
Because it is about the discovery and not about the diagnosis.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, who is able to wait 4 years
Yeah.
before they start trying to live a life that potentially will be much better because they know that about themselves?
Yeah.
You can't wait around being like, all right, I'm going to carry on doing the thing that's basically banging my head against a brick wall just for 4 years, just until somebody like says that that's okay, that I don't bang my head against the wall. It's a mad system.
You recognize it in yourself.
Yeah.
And then you go, okay, so I'm recognizing this. I need to go through these hoops to get X, Y, Z, or even just to get that final validation within oneself. But in the meantime, do I just ignore it and not just go, well, it's highly likely that it's going to be this. So I'm just not going to be like, yeah, like you say, keep banging my head against the wall. You're going to start doing things.
It does affect your day-to-day life. Like I'm, like from the outside, I'm an incredibly productive person. From the inside, I sit and I like, it's the thing of the paralysis of not doing stuff for long times at a time, and then hyper focus and doing loads of stuff, and then like. Yeah, it's like, and that's really running your own business, which happens a lot with ADHD things, is that we start our own stuff and we do the thing. But like, it's sort of, it's definitely brought its own challenges into relationships and work that like I think the diagnosis will help with, but also like just the knowing is also helpful in and of itself.
Yeah, because you won't have that little voice going like,
well, it's just you being awful.
It's just you. It's just you. You're
just a bad human being.
Yeah,
that little voice, that horrible little goblin.
Goblin squash.
So do you, like, I guess we've sort of touched on it, but like, so did your discovery of ADHD, did that change your relationship with yourself? Like the way you thought about yourself? For good or for ill,
Yeah, I don't know. I'm inclined to be hard on myself. So I think that I would, when I was worried that I was then being like, well, it's okay that I do this because it's that. And then I, but not for long enough that I would not be like, well, you're just excusing your behaviours or those kind of things. So I think that discovery side of it's quite hard. I think there's like a lot of good in it that I know a lot of people who've found it and have a lot of anger about it for like lost time or for the way they were treated. Like I know that there's like, I mean, in primary school, all my friends went to like this gifted program, which I never got into. And I'm like, would I have, if I was treated different? Not that I should have, like, not everybody can be gifted, but I was left picking up gravel. And that was actually great. But like,
strange programs.
Yeah.
In themselves.
Yeah. But like, I do wonder, like, and you know, and with the English A-level and GCSE, where my grades, like, where I was suspected to get a lot higher and then I come in lower and those things, like, if I had the support, then would stuff have ended up different? And like, but I mean, I was so glad that I did it when I did, because I got like a computer at uni and I got like the recording system, and like also like, I think like if knowing that I have these things, like I'm now in a place where like I'm so, like I'm proud of all the stuff I've done, and I'm proud that like that with the puns and with like making that stuff and putting that into the world, like, and I know that like the reason, like people are always like, how do you come up with this many? Like, where does this come from? And I'm like, it is just that my brain's a bit different, and like I love that about it. And like I would have like historically maybe been really embarrassed by the amount of spelling mistakes I put out there, and like there was at one point where I can remember like writing a like Facebook status back in the day, Facebook status. So being like, oh, I'm gonna get all this money and win a yacht or something, and I'd spelt yacht like the worst way you could spell yacht, and then people had come in and been like in the comments, and I've been like mortified. But like I don't think I have. I think there was like a phase with the you know, like people who really up it on grammar, or people who really up it on those things and be like, this is wrong. I think I used to be really embarrassed of those things, and I'm now like, nah, it's great. Like I did an illustration for me and my one of the Liv who works for our business. I did an illustration for both of us that was like dyslexia is a super powder, like with like this packet of soup powder, but like I do believe it's a great soup powder. It's like a real warm cup of soup. Like I love it. So but I don't enjoy the process of finding out what it is. But I'm excited that maybe at the end of it there'll be help, like potentially oversharing now, but like throughout the past 5 years I've also like found like been like, no, I want to take control of like the anxiety things, and I've gone on like sertraline, and I found that like having like finding that there's medication for that, and then taking that, which I've, you know, it just leveled my brain. I still feel the extreme highs, I still feel the extreme lows, but for me, and I know it doesn't work for everybody, I was like, oh, this is how other people function. I'm never gonna boil over the top. And I also like was very lucky to do some therapy, like, and I was like, that feels to me like a without therapy, it's like you're trying to cook at a kitchen side that's like really, really messy. And like therapy isn't that all the mess goes away. It's just that somebody brings in another table surface. So you can like look at what you've got and you've got space to work in.
That's a great way to describe
it. That's a really good answer.
But having those both, that like being able to have gotten to a point, and I think it was the pandemic that like led me to be able to assess myself and work out that that's what I needed, and be like, actually I can't live like this anymore. I've got to make these improvements for myself, for like the ones I love around me, and for like my own survival. But having been able to do those things, and like knowing that medication in that case and therapy in that case allowed me to kind of live like how maybe some other people do live. I was like, oh my God, like it doesn't have to be like this. I could improve this for myself and I could make it better. And I like, it's a privileged position to be in, that I've been able to have those things. But like, I know that there's a lot of stigma that stops people going for those things. And I think that's really sad, especially with the medication. Like I was like, why would I ever come off this? It really works for me. Like apart from stigma and being like, I don't want to be on a thing. Like it just, it does the job.
Finding ways, recognising things that helped you, and then finding them and being like, oh, actually, this is really balancing out. This is levelling things and giving me space to do things. And and one thing that jumped into my brain when you're talking about the anxiety element in terms of whether it was an overshare or not, I really don't think that's in any way an overshare, because it's such something I think we touched on before, is that thing of if you grow up and you always feel like you're the weird one, or you have an assessment when you're in year 5 and they go, nah, it's fine. It's just you. You're the problem. Oh, wow, you've got mental health problems out of that. What a surprise kind of thing. And so it is. All of these things are part and parcel of the same thing. And so often also mental health problems are, as you were saying earlier, caught as the thing. It's like, you have anxiety.
Yeah.
It's like, but what's the underlying? What's beneath that?
Yeah.
There's also like
attached to each other.
There's a like with the everybody talking more about mental health. There's a sort of almost and a lot of illustrators who have it will put out like beautiful designs that have to do with your mental health and things like that. There's almost like a trendification of some types of it, which covers like there's a comedian who does a very good bit about it, but like there's like a sort of socially acceptable level now of mental health, which there never was before. So thank goodness for that. But there's like the underside of that still isn't socially acceptable. That still comes with so much self-shame and embarrassment, and like. And I think because everybody shares the upper level and not the lower level, like. I feel like there's still.
We've got a way to go.
Yeah, we've got a way to go. Like, yeah.
Well, there's all these little steps.
Yeah, and it is knowing that we're all just like so many of us in the same boat with that stuff, and it's not. It's your brain tells you it's all you, but it's not.
And for me, there's a lot of like not beating myself up about stuff because there's a reason I do that. It's because I'm wired differently.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, one of my big things that kind of maxims I live by, one of my rules is reason, not an excuse. These things but it's given you a reason for something. It's like, so I now know that actually I don't have to look at people in the eye all the time. And if that person touches me and I instantly just want to go, then that's fine because it's just me.
It's totally fine for me to walk on the outsides of my feet when I go into a bathroom because I can't stand the way that it feels. And I don't have to call myself a weirdo for that. I could call myself a weirdo and laugh about it because I know why I do it.
Yeah, and you're doing it in a like, you little...
you lovely little weirdo. Much more of an affectionate weirdo than...
It's trying to find nicer ways to talk to yourself. It's like
definitely.
Absolutely that thing. Yes. And also like it was so nice. I think my sister was the one with me and ADHD. She was the one that was like noticed it the most about me and was like sort of wanting me to get help for it first. And stuff like our shop is next to a very busy road and it's quite noisy, and so she like made sure that I was getting some like soundproof headphones and like those sensitivity things. Like we'd try and have a meeting in a busy place and I would be like, I can't. I'd not manage to temper my emotions because I was trying to listen to the conversation and I was hearing every other conversation because I couldn't pick the channel to listen to what was going on and like stuff like that. And she was the one that noticed it first and was quite receptive to that or understanding of that. I think like, it's finding ways to be gentle with yourself for stuff that is like part of a thing that isn't, isn't
necessarily a problem or something you need to be guilty about.
No,
so it's a need in a different way, and it probably has a reflection of like probably means it's like you can't quite do that as well, but you can do this really well. Thing. Yeah,
absolutely.
Lovely. Well.
Thank you, Catherine. Cut.
Well done.
Oh no!
I've only just met you, so I can say, Kat, thank you.
No worries. Thank you.
That's all we have time for this week, folks. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Follow us on Instagram at Life in the Mind. Our other socials are linked in the bio. Bye.